Trump will impose a new round of tariffs on imported heavy-duty trucks, branded medications, kitchen cabinets, and upholstered furniture. Trump announced the change will take effect on October 1st.
The world has just witnessed yet another dramatic move from President Donald Trump, one that could reshape not only America's economy, but also global trade as we know it. With the stroke of a pen and a fiery announcement, Trump declared sweeping new tariffs that will hit pharmaceuticals, furniture, kitchen cabinets, and heavy trucks, with some duties going as high as 100%. It's a gamble on America's future, one that promises strength, self-reliance, and leverage against rivals, but also threatens chaos, lawsuits, and retaliation. For some, this is Trump's boldest move yet, a strike against foreign dependency. For others, it's an economic powder keg waiting to explode. But what's really at stake? And how could these tariffs affect everyday Americans, businesses, and even the global balance of power? Let's break it all down. Chapter 1. Trump's Tariff Shockwave. On Thursday, Trump unveiled what he called one of his most decisive tariff packages to date. This wasn't a minor tweak to existing policy. It was a full-blown escalation. The plan imposed a series of new duties on goods spanning critical industries: pharmaceuticals, heavy trucks, furniture, and kitchen cabinets. Most strikingly, a 100% tariff was announced on patented drugs, instantly doubling the cost of imported medicines unless exempted. For years, Trump has framed tariffs as his signature economic weapon. He argues that for too long, America has been exploited by foreign manufacturers, while U.S. industries have suffered. His tariffs, he says, are not just about economics, but about sovereignty, security, and survival. We're not going to let other nations rob us anymore, he declared. This latest round of tariffs is meant to demonstrate that the administration will go further than any government before it in defending American industry. But at what cost? Chapter 2. The Pharma Frontline. Nothing makes headlines quite like medicine. Trump's announcement of a 100% duty on patented drugs immediately ignited controversy. America is the largest pharmaceutical market in the world, and much of its drug supply comes from overseas, whether through manufacturing in India, raw ingredients from China, or finished products from Europe. Critics argue that doubling drug prices overnight could devastate patients who already face high prescription costs. Exemptions exist, but only for companies building manufacturing plants in the United States or for nations covered under special trade agreements. In other words, foreign drug makers will have to buy into Trump's America First vision if they want to avoid the punishing tariff. Supporters, however, see this as genius strategy. For decades, U.S. pharmaceutical giants have outsourced production to cheaper countries. By weaponizing tariffs, Trump aims to force Big Pharma to reshore operations, creating jobs at home and reducing reliance on fragile global supply chains. If it works, it could mark a new era of American pharmaceutical dominance. But if it fails, patients may be caught in the middle of a global trade war where life-saving medicine becomes collateral damage. Chapter 3. Furniture, Trucks, and Cabinets. Domestic industry at stake. Beyond medicine, Trump's tariff package targeted household staples, furniture, and kitchen cabinets. At first glance, these may not seem like national security concerns. But to Trump, they represent industries hollowed out by globalization. Imported furniture from China and Vietnam has long undercut American manufacturers. By slapping tariffs of 30% to 50% on these goods, the administration hopes to breathe life back into factories in North Carolina, Michigan, and Ohio. Similarly, the cabinet industry, often overlooked, has seen U.S. jobs vanish as imports surged. Now, Trump claims, the playing field will be leveled. Heavy trucks, too, fall under the new tariffs. These are not consumer cars, but industrial vehicles critical to logistics and construction. By imposing new duties, Trump is signaling that even the backbone of American infrastructure must be shielded from foreign influence. The goal is clear: bring jobs back, even if it means higher costs in the short term. But for small businesses and consumers, those short-term costs could quickly become long-term burdens. Chapter 4. Farmers and Bailouts. Who pays the price? Perhaps the most ironic twist in Trump's tariff policy is that while it is framed as a weapon against foreign producers, it often lands hardest on American farmers. That's because tariffs invite retaliation. Countries like China, Canada, and Mexico don't just sit back, they hit back, often targeting American agricultural exports like soybeans, corn, and pork. Anticipating this, Trump floated the idea of using tariff revenue to fund bailouts for farmers. For a little while, they're going to be hurt until the tariffs kick into their benefit, he admitted. But the mechanics of such bailouts remain murky. Would they be legal? Could they survive Supreme Court scrutiny? Critics argue it's a band-aid solution to a wound created by the tariffs themselves. Supporters counter that farmers are patriotic and willing to endure temporary pain for the long-term good of the nation. Either way, it's a gamble with real livelihoods on the line. Chapter 5. The Legal Storm, Courts versus Tariffs. The legal foundation of Trump's tariff blitz is shaky. Already, lower courts have questioned whether the president has the authority to impose such sweeping duties under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. Judges have ruled that tariffs are fundamentally a congressional power, not an executive one. Now, with this new tariff expansion, lawsuits are inevitable. Small businesses, trade associations, and even state governments are lining up to challenge the legality of Trump's moves. If the Supreme Court ultimately rules against him, billions of dollars in tariffs could be refunded, and Trump's entire trade edifice could collapse overnight. For now, however, the administration is charging forward, betting that the courts will either uphold his actions or at least move too slowly to stop them before the tariffs take effect. Chapter 6. Chips, Tech, and the Battle for Supply Chains. Tariffs on furniture and medicine are one thing, but when it comes to semiconductors, the stakes are higher than ever. Chips are the lifeblood of the modern economy, powering everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Trump's administration has announced a plan to require chip makers to manufacture at home as many chips as their customers import. Failure to meet this 1-to-1 ratio could mean punitive tariffs. This is a direct strike at companies that rely heavily on Taiwanese and South Korean production. It's also a veiled shot at China, which has invested heavily in becoming a semiconductor superpower. The strategy ties into Trump's broader goal of securing America's technological independence. But critics worry it could destabilize global supply chains, raise costs for consumers, and provoke backlash from allies. Once again, Trump is betting big, this time on chips. Chapter 7. China Factor, Boeing Deal, and Global Trade Chessboard. Behind the fiery rhetoric and tariffs lies an intricate game of global chess. Reports indicate that the US and China are close to finalizing a massive Boeing aircraft deal, one that could serve as the crown jewel of a broader trade agreement. For Trump, this is proof that his hardball tactics are working. By squeezing China with tariffs, he creates leverage for deals that could benefit American companies. But is China really conceding or simply playing for time? While Trump celebrates the prospect of a huge deal, skeptics note that China has its own ambitions to dominate aviation through companies like Comac. The Boeing deal may provide short-term relief, but long-term, it could simply be part of Beijing's strategy to manage Trump while pursuing its own agenda. Chapter 8. TikTok, Tech Wars, and Digital Trade. Trade is no longer just about goods. It's also about data, apps, and digital influence. Trump's tariffs are unfolding alongside his crackdown on TikTok, the popular Chinese-owned app. Under pressure from Washington, TikTok's U.S. operations are set to be spun off into a consortium involving Oracle and other investors. For Trump, this is about more than just an app. It's about control of digital platforms, information flows, and even cultural influence. By tying TikTok's fate to his trade agenda, Trump is signaling that the next frontier of economic warfare isn't just factories or ships, it's cyberspace. The TikTok case may well become a template for how future administrations confront the overlap of technology, trade, and national security. Chapter 9. Political Fallout. Allies, Opponents, and Election Stakes. Every tariff has a political dimension. Supporters hail Trump as a warrior for American jobs. Critics denounce him as reckless, saying his tariffs amount to hidden taxes on consumers. Allies in Europe and Asia are frustrated, seeing Trump's moves as unilateral aggression that undermines global cooperation. Domestically, the political fallout is just as complex. Small businesses reliant on imports face rising costs. Farmers brace for retaliatory strikes. Patients worry about drug affordability. Yet Trump's base often cheers his defiance, framing it as America finally standing up for itself. With elections looming, tariffs become not just economic policy, but a defining symbol of Trump's leadership style. Confrontational, unapologetic, and high stakes. Chapter 10. What this means for the future of global trade. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Trump's tariffs are not just temporary skirmishes. They represent a fundamental reordering of America's approach to trade. Gone are the days of free trade orthodoxy. In its place is a doctrine of economic nationalism, where tariffs are the sword and shield of policy. The long-term consequences are uncertain. Will American industries rebound, strengthened by protection and investment? Or will consumers, businesses, and global partners bear unbearable costs? Will the courts uphold Trump's sweeping powers or rein him in? The answers to these questions will determine not just Trump's legacy, but the shape of the 21st century economy. President Trump's 100% tariff shockwave is more than just a trade policy. It's a gamble with America's industries, consumers, and global alliances on the line. To some, it's the bold leadership needed to restore American greatness. To others, it's reckless brinkmanship that could spiral into economic chaos. One thing is certain, the world is watching. What do you think? Will Trump's tariffs rebuild America's economy? Or will they backfire and hurt the very people they aim to protect? If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into global politics, economics, and the stories shaping our future.